Hello everyone, Reggie Time here with Simon. He's sent me, I think, 8 hands to review. Whether we get through them all or not, who knows? I don't know how much time Simon's got. Um, so we're not going to wibble too much. How's your week been, Simon?
Yeah, no, in terms of time, I'm good. So we can do whatever we need to do here. That's fine. Yeah, not been a bad week at all. Played Snap 25NL Snap all week. A bit more volume than normal, which is good. Win rate 24, bigs 100, up 6 or 7 lines, I think. So yeah, nice week.
That is fucking lovely to hear. So we're going to win all these hands, are we?
No,
All
definitely not.
right. Let's see.
There might be a couple in there, but purely
Just
from
so you
my
know,
ego.
Simon sent me these 8 hands. I haven't looked at any of them. He only sent me them just before we started our call. All I've done is import them into my poker tracker, and they just basically opened them all to in the replayer. So I don't even know which ones is won and lost because I didn't want to pay any attention to them. Um, so we're looking at them with a fresh pair of eyes. So we open here blind be blind against someone I've got yellow tagged, which is my tag for probably half decent reg. Um, to be fair, this guy should be yellow, not booking. I shouldn't be retagging people in the middle of videos, but yeah. So my yellow tag, Simon, basically is like 21, 19, 20. They got reasonable pre-flop raise first in stats, and then you get the orange tag 19 fucking 12, playing like a fanny. Then
Yeah,
you got the green, which is just this guy's probably a fish, and we can tell this guy probably is
yeah,
70 bigs, weird stats.
yeah.
So yeah, that's basically how I tag people. This guy 3 bets, and his 3 bet blind versus blind. Well, 3 bet versus me in particular. I've got this 3 versus hero stat. His 3 bet 22, me 22% from the big blind. His 3 bet overall from the big blind is 6%. And if we go into um, 3 bet versus small blind open, he hasn't actually done it yet on the sample I've got. So
Mhm.
take what we will from this. Probably not an out of line range is what I'm taking from this. He's done it 0 from 8 here, and he's in general from the big blind. He doesn't look like he's a particularly active 3 better.
Yeah,
Um, so I would, having looked at them stats, think this, even though at first you're like, well, it's blind versus blind, he's probably going to have as many 3 bets from this spot as he is any, probably the widest is going to be in terms of his 3 betting. Theoretically, that might be correct. In practice, it doesn't look like it is here. And that's interesting because I think this hand, and I don't know, but we're going to be able to look, we're going to be able to review it. This hand feels to me like it could 4 bet sometimes. I think
yeah.
King Jack suited would 4 bet here for certain. King 10, I don't know. Um, but we can just check that with GTO. What's your thoughts here?
Well, I'm pretty certain I'm not going to be four betting. I wouldn't have it in a four bet range here. I don't think. I would. You see, I think the majority of the time I'll fold here to this, but we obviously, well, if I've given you this hand and I've folded, then I'm more of a cunt than I think I am. But um, I think I'd probably do mix in some calls some percentage of the time. So, which might be terrible. Actually, it might be. I think.
No, I think I don't think this hand is like a strong 4 bet candidate from a theoretical perspective. I think Solver's probably going to prefer calling. I just, for me, I'd rather 4 bet a bit more depolarized.
Yeah,
Um, because here's my pro. I don't find the 4 bets that Solver finds here, and we'll look at this in a moment. I don't know what they are. I'm not well studied enough. And then I certainly, if I do know what they are, so if you could just implant that range into my brain, I'm then not going to play that range very well post flop because it's going to be some bad hands in there. So
yeah,
I'd rather just like 4 bet a bit more depolarized, and then if he 5 bets, easy fold. If he calls, I'm going to understand like how my hand strength looks on certain boards.
yeah,
Whereas if I don't know what might be, like King 6 might be a fucking 4 bet here for all I know. King 6 suited, King
yeah,
10 might be pure call, King 5 suited might be a 4 bet. And I know I'm not finding some of those weird 4 bets. So I just kind of depolarize, and I'd rather like 4 bet fold a hand like this
yeah.
than 4 bet a hand that I haven't got a clue. I think the cool kids call it. There's no clarity post flop or there's no vision post flop. I can't remember how they fucking word it. But basically, I don't think Solver would fall back this hand very often. Personally, I don't mind doing it.
No.
I'd rather call a hand like King Queen suited, things like that, and then maybe King Jack's slightly better than this for four. But I don't know. But it feels to me like this probably can call, but I've got to find some weaker four bets from somewhere. And for me, outside of the obvious King Queen off that everyone knows, outside of maybe someone like the suited weaker aces like ace worst kicker. I don't know where the rest of the four bets come from really. And even though I've looked at these charts a lot, they never seem to stick because they're just like so unnatural, aren't they? So I think you're right. I think this probably will favour call here.
Yeah.
Just my personal um, strategy. I'd rather just like four bet fold a hand like this.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
yeah. I like that as well. To be fair.
so let's see what you did. You call.
Well, at least we didn't fold and have nothing to talk about.
I'm not going to give you any other option other than check here because I just don't think. I mean, theory would never donk here, and I just don't even like ignoring theory. I don't think we would ever want to donk here either.
No, I have zero donks here. It's a check.
Yeah. Villain check bet small as we would expect. This is all developing incredibly as expected so far.
Yeah. I mean, we call here.
Yeah, I
nothing
think
else to call.
Call's the only play. Yeah. Turn spade. So now what are you thinking?
I still think we check here. I mean, how much spades does he have here? I don't know. He's three bet pre. I'm pretty certain I'll check here. I don't know if I have some check raises, which again could be terrible because I've got, it doesn't. Our equity is not great, but when the spade comes, I don't know if that's something that I ever consider.
No, I think check raising would be like, we're just like, why would we want to turn a hand with showdown value into a bluff? Because that's what we'd be doing. We're not doing it for value.
I just wonder if that's maybe what I've done here, but I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I think it's just a check here.
Yeah, I think so too.
See what size he bets. If he bets big, we're probably out of town.
What if though? What if you didn't? What if you had actually made a flush here, King Ten of Spades? Or you had Ace Ten of Spades? Or what if you turned a flush here? Do you then start having any leads?
Possibly, but I think I'd prefer a check raise in that circumstance.
See, I think it's. I think like, and I don't know what Solver would do here with the flush, and frankly, I don't fucking care, to be honest with you. I think when our hand improves on this turn, when we improve to a flush, I think we just should start leading at a pretty high frequency because this is just going to go check a lot of the time. When villain doesn't have a spade in his hand, he's going to go check.
Yeah.
Unless maybe he has like a set of queens or a set of kings, maybe he bets them. So I think, and I genuinely couldn't give a flying fuck what Solver says. If we have a flush here, I think we should strongly consider leading, and probably start leading for like reasonable sizes, like 2/3 pot or more. I know again when we want to lead these turns when the board changes, the cool thing is to just go like, well, I'm just going to go 1/3 here, etc. But I think in practice, when I lead this turn, I'm pretty much only going to be leading good hands, like flushes. Maybe if I've got any offsuit, which I don't think I'll have much offsuit stuff in my range, but maybe if I had like somehow had the ace of spades, and then maybe put that in there as well to just so I've got some hands that aren't just flushes. And again, I think Solver's not going to like my line here, but I would have a lead here for 2/3, 3/4 pot if I'd had a flush. And when I don't have a flush, I'm just going to do what you're going to do, which is check.
Well, we don't know that. No, I do check.
But I am interested to see what Solver thinks of my flush because as I said, I don't care what Solver thinks. I think leading here with the flush, the way these games play, is just going to be the highest EV play.
Yeah.
Villain checks back. River is a 3. What do you think we should do now?
I think we can bet. I don't know. I'm not 100%, but I wouldn't be surprised to see me bet here. With his check back, I'm not sure. I don't really know. I don't think Solver would like that at all. I think it's 100% a check in Solverland.
I think there might be some blocking in Solberland, but again, um, I don't really give a fuck what
Yeah.
Solver wants to do. I think it's really interesting and entertaining to review these hands in solvers
Mm-hmm.
because we get to know what a balanced strategy looks like. But I think like we don't want to try and fucking play like a solver. We don't want to try and play
No, no.
like an emulator. We don't want to try and emulate a solver. We want to be like, right, okay. Um, 'cause I think that just going for like exploits is the wrong word, but knowing how these hands play out. Like this hand, for example, he's 3-bet pre. We've called. It's come down King Queen X. You know he's almost always going to bet small if he's half decent.
Yeah.
It's almost like you know what's happening in advance. So we
Yeah.
bet small. We call. Turn spade comes. You almost certain he's going to go check check. The vast majority of the time it's going check check, and then river here, we either probably block or check. I think like in in reality here, I think Villain retains a lot of like pretty strong hands because he's incentivized to check back a lot of hands without a spade on the turn. So if he's got aces without a spade, ace king without a spade, all those hands, they're probably going to want to check back. So I don't think he's stripped of like better hands than us here. But
No.
I also don't think if we bet he gets to raise
No.
very often. So I just like block here personally.
Okay.
Like quarter pot, literally quarter pot, like whatever that would be, 7 bigs. Um, Sometimes we're going to get binned because he's going to snap us off with aces.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're going to get binned. He's going to snap us off with king queen or ace king with a spade. But he's just very rarely going to raise as a bluff. I think people don't like doing the blocking because they think they're going to get raised too often. And versus a computer, you probably will get raised at the correct frequency. Against a human, you almost certainly won't. You're either going to have people who are going to see the 1/3 bet and they're going to react by overbluffing, or you're going to get the vast majority of the population that see the 1/3 bet and just hit call or fold.
Right.
So I think we can just exploitably just bet 7.5 bigs here and not worry whether we win or lose. I just think it's the best play.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can get behind that. Yeah.
You went with half pot, which is a bit on the bigger side for my taste,
Yeah.
because I'm wanting when I'm doing this and I'm not trying to target hands. Well, clearly we've got a king with a 10 kicker, so we need worse hands than a king with a 10 kicker to call. I mean, it's blind v blind. I guess he could have some like king 6 suited and whatever that wants to call this size, but I think his most likely calls are going to come from queen X, pocket jacks, things like that.
Yeah.
And so would they call this size? Maybe. But I think it's unlikely when like they lose to like if he's got jacks, for example, or if he's got like ace queen, something like that. I think when the spade gets in and they don't beat a king, I think like you're not going to get bluff caught very often versus his size. And this guy in particular, I've just noticed this stat. He folds 91% of the time to river bets.
Yeah.
Literally, he's folded 10 out of 11 times.
That's it.
So I mean, you won't have had this stat. So but if I saw
I
this
have
stat of
got that stat.
91,
Yeah,
right.
I have got that stat in my head, but I wouldn't have had anywhere near as many hands.
No,
So
no, of
I
course.
don't know.
So I think
But
if I'd have seen this stat, I would have then just been like, but he's also got this stat where he's like, he rarely bets rivers. He only bets river 20%.
yeah.
And when he has he's been called once, he's won once. So this guy isn't going to bet a worse hand very often. So we could even expect this to go check check quite often. Or we can just bet really small. This guy's going to do nothing about it. He's clearly going to overfold because he is overfolding rivers. And because he's like really passive on rivers, his 20% bet frequency, we have to assume he's not fucking going to be all of a sudden bluff raising rivers. So I really like block against this guy. I think it's a perfect line against this player.
And seven big blinds does the same job as what I bet there, in the sense that if he, like you say, if he's got king queen, he's going to call, and I lose less money. If he's got a hand he can't call with, he folds as well, set to 7, doesn't he? Yeah. So it's a sizing issue, that, isn't
it? I think 7 just wins more money. Yeah, I'm generally of the opinion of like, you know, you should bet as much as you fucking can think you'll get called by worse. You know, how often do you think we've got the best hand here? And if we think we've got the best hand here 100% of the time, then just fucking blast. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what they've got, just fucking blast it. If I've got the nuts, I'm just blasting, and they can decide what to fucking call it with. But this
Yeah.
is thin. You know,
Yeah.
we don't always have the best hand here. We sometimes have the worst hand. On check, I guess we win this hand maybe 70% of the time. If it goes check, maybe slightly more than that. But when we bet and they call, that number drops. If it drops below 50, we're actually making a bad bet. And the larger we bet, the less often we're going to win when we're called.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer a smaller bet.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I get behind that completely. I see that. But yeah,
And Villain did fold as we expected him to.
yeah,
So what I want to do here is run our thoughts through the GTO Wizard. So here we go. I don't think you're going to get anything other than 6 here. I think you're going to have like a well played hand. Maybe the river size might be inaccuracy actually. Come to think of it.
yeah,
No, 2 ticks the whole way. What a fucking genius you are. 2 ticks. Every decision you made the right one. So I asked if there was any 4 betting pre-flop. No, absolutely not. Again, I don't really fucking care.
and it calls that pure. And I just going back. That's a pure call, and I don't call that all the time. I mean, I don't know why. I just maybe yeah, that's something I need to.
Well, 1 second, fella. It's a pure call because in theory, Big Blind has. Where we are here. Big Blind has all of these hands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
King, and
yeah,
King tends to do ways. Big Blind in theory has got 17.2% of hands here.
yeah,
We've already established this guy doesn't have that, or we don't expect him to. So if we were to just say what we thought his Big Blind 3-bet range looked like which was somewhere maybe between 6 and 8%, all of a sudden a lot of these hands they just fucking melt away, don't they?
yeah, yeah.
I would imagine King 10 suited still wants to call, but it's nowhere near as fucking crystal clear.
Mm.
Right, let's really fucking dive in. So if we pull Equilab up here now, which is something I haven't done in a video for a fucking long time, and we put a 6% range in there, so we just keep clicking buttons until we get to around maybe we'll go to 8%. So maybe he's 3-betting all these, he's 3-betting these, he's 3-betting that. That's up to 6% already. Maybe he's doing that. Maybe he's doing that. Probably doing some of them. So we're up to 8% already, which is whereabouts we think this guy's around that. We'll wang a bit of ace turn off. In fact, we'll go a little bit over the top. We'll give him 10%.
What about Jack 10 suited? Is that's a sort of Queen 10 suited? Those sort of hands, are they?
I think they're probably just fucking pure. Well, let's see. What are they doing? Queen 10 suited, just 3-betting some of the time.
Yeah.
So we'll whack Queen 10 suited in there. Jack 10 suited, yeah. So we'll whack them in. And Queen Jack suited's in there. So we've got the guy up to like 10%, and we think that's more than he's doing.
Yeah.
King 10 suited's in there too, so we'll whack that in a little bit. Ace Deuce off's meant to be in there, pure, etc. These are the stuff that I don't think he's got. So like we've got the guy up to nearly 10% here, and we compare that to that. Look at that. We haven't got any of this region in there.
No.
We haven't got any of this region in there. We haven't got any of this region whatsoever in there. And this is why like it wants to pure call, because theoretically it's got all these extra hands. If we were to just like put these hands in, I genuinely don't know what King 10 suit would do. He would probably still want to call, but it sure as fuck wouldn't be pure anymore.
No.
I wouldn't have thought. This is why like the new GTO was like elite node locking thing. I'm too tight to pay the money, but I'd love to maybe pay just for 1 month.
Yeah.
Just to like, say, right, well, actually, I don't think this guy's got all this fucking nonsense down here. I think this is almost non-existent, this here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's almost non-existent.
Yeah.
I think some of this is maybe in there once in a blue moon. So if we clear
wow.
So if we clear all this, and then we just put the stuff in we don't think he's got, and we'll see what that represents as a range. So we won't put Jack 3 suited in, but we'll put Jack 2 suited in pure instead. 10 do suited is pure. We'll put 10-5 and 10-3 in and miss 10-4. So we get in like an accurate representation of like the percentage of hands. We'll whack all the suited connectors in 10-9 because we didn't put any of these in the first time. 7-6. Then we'll whack Queen 9 off in because that's randomly fucking in there. Jack 9 off. And because we're putting the 9s, we won't put the 8s in. We will put the 10-8 off in. I'm just trying to like replicate this range and see what it works out as a percentage. We'll put King 6 up, but not King 5 because that then like puts them to
50-50, yeah.
Have a bit of ace socks, ace six, bit of ace street, and ace deuce. So there we go. That's 10% again.
Yeah.
And that's half of his range basically. That we're saying we don't think he has very often. Maybe he has them because they're relatively easy to find. So we'll say yeah, he has them because they're easy to find, and we'll give him the 10 deuce suited because then that one's relatively easy to find because it's pure as well. So of the ones that aren't pure, we'll maybe take the ace 3 off out. Still 7.24% of fans. Still like 40% of the range is meant to have. So when he's 3-betting pre-flop with the range we assign, it's only like 60% of a full range. And this is why I've preached forever for people to overfold. And I think this has been like a pretty good exercise because do we really think your average 25-0 reg is finding these fucking three? They're just not.
Absolutely
They're just not fucking doing it.
Absolutely.
I watch loads of streamers. They ain't doing this. They're
No.
just not fucking doing it, and they're not getting close. You know, and there's stuff here we've missed.
Are you ever 3-betting 10 deuce suited there?
I know it's in there,
Yeah.
and I will do it against people who I think are like because I have the raise first in stats. So if I think someone's raising too often from the small blind,
yeah.
So if they're raising more than say 44%, then I'll flick it in there. There's some regs on the site I play on who are like 51, 52% small blind open. Against them, I'll do it because if I'm going to do it against anyone, I'm going to do it against the people who have the widest ranges. But no, almost never, mate. Almost never. My 3-bet range from most positions looks like this. And I'd say me and 90% of the fucking microstakes reg population. It looks like fucking this. Maybe a bit of that. Maybe a little bit of that once in the fucking blue moon. And that's it. That's my fucking range.
Yeah.
It's just all top left-hand side corner. Maybe once in the blue moon.
Suited ever?
If I'm being spicy. Yeah, to be fair, yes. But these are all at full frequency. I'm not always doing this, for example. I'm not always doing that. So these are the hands that are in my range, at least. These are the hands that I use. That's the best way to describe it. These are the hands. And once in a blue moon, I might bang something like fucking that in or that in or that in.
Yeah.
So all these are all hands that I will use. But the ones that I'm doing at full frequency are basically genuinely, I'm being completely sincere here.
Yeah.
Full frequency 3-bets. That's about it.
Yeah.
5% at full frequency, and then I'll scatter the others in and around based on which way the fucking wind's blowing, based on who's open, based on stack depth, etc. And I have no shame in this, and this is 90, an enormous percent of the microstakes population. Because we know it is, because the microstakes population 3-bet is around 6%, 5 to 6%. So we know what it is. It's this. This is the fucking range they're always finding, and then they're randomly finding this now and again. They're randomly finding that now and then, but they're not doing it anywhere near full frequency, because if they were, their 3-bet stats would be up at 9 and 10%, which they aren't.
Yeah.
So this is where I think looking at solvers is really fucking interesting, but that's all it is. It's just interesting. Take it with a pinch of salt. This is what they should be doing. So this is what my response should be. But when they only have the good stuff, then King 10, whereas King 10 is fucking pure here. If you could just put like his actual like real range in here rather than the fucking Fairyland GTO range. I imagine King 10 probably defends, but it would start mixing fold. I think King 10 would start mixing, and I think you should do that too.
That's been that was my view. I think you can fold that hand a proportion of the time.
Against the right opponents, against people that you should have a sliding scale in your head that isn't going to be accurate. But the more you think they're finding the unusual three bets, the more you should defend this. The
Yeah.
less they're finding it, the less you should. So, for example, if we go back to the hand for a minute, let's find someone with a low three bet. Actually, we can't at this table. But if you find maybe this guy because he's like 19/12, um, his big blind three bet percentage is not very fucking much. Like 3 from 31 there. Um, versus Steel. He's actually doing his 23%. So this guy's maybe not the best example. But you know the types of player I mean.
Yeah.
There's you got your hood running in these games. You know who they are. There's players in these pools in 25 and snap who are playing 14/10.
Yeah.
Who have like a
Oh,
three
yeah. Yeah.
percent three bet. There's loads of these fucking absolute nits playing 16/5 with a 2% three bet. Maybe against these regs, maybe you just like pure call, and against the guys who you know are nitty, you just overfold to them. And I think that's going to be a better strategy than pure calling, in my opinion.
What was sorry? Going back to the villain. It was villain two, wasn't it? What again was his three bet stat in the big blind?
2 from 9 overall. Sorry, 2 from 9 against me personally. Just
Yeah.
3 from 51.
Yeah.
But
The only reason I asked that.
that's against all positions, to be fair. And versus small blind open specifically, he's done it. This will be one of them times, I think. 2 from 14.
Yeah.
So inconclusive, really.
Just looking at his 11% three bet stat overall, I just wondered if it was something he was doing a bit more.
Well, let's see where his three bets are coming from. His three bet by position, they're coming quite a lot from like these. I mean, he's actually three betting more from middle position. I don't know how the fuck he's managing to three bet from early position. I don't know how he's doing that. No fucking clue.
No.
I don't understand. But like 9, 18. But again, you got to be wary of your samples.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's actually three betting more from middle position and cut off at the moment than he is from here. So I would say this is probably, even though I've got 500 hands, I'd say we've got a very unreliable sample size
Mm-hmm.
to like overanalyze three bets. But what we do know is because it's 11, he's trying to have like quite an active three bet strategy because this is way over pools, way over population. Population are going to be way more down as we go through the video, probably in the 8 and 9 region, I would say, maybe
Yeah.
even 7, 8, 9. And overall population isn't even reaching that. Overall population's reaching 6. I say the reg population's probably reaching 8 or 9. And when you get these guys at 10 or 11, you've probably got to start thinking about defending more versus them. But even then, we know they're not finding it anywhere near enough because we've just seen a chart with all the fucking raises on. And half of that was made up of absolute air that we know these guys aren't finding.
Yeah.
So I would take look at the solver, look at the ranges, and then take it with a pinch of salt, basically, in my opinion. So we went with the call here. Obviously, we decided check was the right decision. He bet, obviously, pure call. There is some raise, though, look. Tiny bit of raise.
Yeah.
I mean, you've
And he
got two
wants
ticks.
raised.
81% close enough to me to just do it fucking sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think raising here would be fucking suicide.
Yeah. I agree.
Personally, that you'd be setting money on fire. Turn, it does start having a tiny bit of leading, but again, pure checking. But I think if we were to go and like say we had King Ten of Spades here, I think this would shift to leading. We'll have a look at it right now while we're at it, just out of interest. So as played, we've done this turn check. But if we had, so we're small blind here. Now we're still checking absolutely everything. It's not. It's just not leading flushes. Again, solver can fuck off, get in the bin. I genuinely don't care that we're just like checking range here. I couldn't care fucking less. I'm just going to start leading flushes and not worry about being exploited for it. It's not letting us have like the King X of Spades. Oh yes, it is. Sorry, ignore me. It's not letting us have King Queen of Spades. Yeah, that's because it's up there. Fucking hell, Rich, stop being a cunt. Because I'd have thought like King Ten of Spades, King Jack of Spades here would want to start betting.
No, it's checking.
At least at a small frequency. And they're not betting any more than anything else. I think that's nonsense personally. And it's Solver knows better than me in terms of like how to play things at equilibrium. I'm not asked about equilibrium. What I'm asked about is I know how these games play, and I think when we have a flush here, this is going to check through too often. and I just want to start betting. So there we go. I'm sticking to that. And then river, we are supposed to bet your size. Look at that, 84%. My bet size would have been this one, and we're only doing that 10%. So good bet, good bet. Wonder what else we're betting for this size on the river. We went with, what size did you go with? We'll have to go with this one. So it's already given us this one, isn't it? So we'll have to go with 60%. So we've got small blind. What is our bet 60% range look like? Basically, just all our King X, isn't it?
Yeah.
King X, and then the bluffs are basically the ones that block the straights or whatever.
Yeah.
I would pretend like no, there's no straights to block. Shut the fuck up, Reg, you fucking cunt. Why are these betting then? Why are these ones in particular deciding fuck it and betting? Man, I suppose you've got to get the bluffs from somewhere, haven't they? And they probably don't want to get them from spades, I imagine, because solvers are weird. Although no, hang on, we don't have the offsuit shit, do we? That's why. If you can see here, we just don't have any offsuit combos. So I guess it's got to find its plus from missed straight draws, I guess. It's the only place it can find them from, really, isn't it? When you think about it, literally the only place it can find its plus from is missed straight draws because it doesn't have the offsuit stuff. So yeah, nice. I enjoyed doing that one. And this time I started using this tool a bit more. I've started using it to be like, right, I'm just going to do what I want to do in game. And when I'm playing, I'm not trying to emulate a solver. I'm just doing what I think is going to work well against either population or a particular individual. And then I'm just using this to see how far I've deviated. And then, like, look at the hands villains are supposed to have. And then look at, like, do what I've just done there with the Equilab. Right, this is what they're supposed to have. This is what I actually think they have. And then, I'm doing a lot more of that kind of work. I think it's way more useful. I spent 2 weeks trying to, like, use more solver-approved lines. It's fucking hard, man. It's really fucking hard. It's hard remembering even, like, 10% of the lines you're supposed to be taking to begin with. Then when you're doing them, you don't even know why you're doing them half the fucking time. So I'm just reverting to just doing what literally I think my hand wants to do versus a particular opponent. And then just checking in solver, right? So how far have you deviated this time then, Reg? How much of a not a thing have you done this time, Reg? And then just like look at it and be like, right, well, okay, what I've done is not a thing, but can I still justify it? Or is my line just bad? And that's how I'm using it. And I think it's a far better way for using this tool than if we're using it just to try and get more and more like a solver. I think you're misusing the tool, to be honest, and I think I have been misusing the tool. Anyways, 32 minutes. We've done one hand. Fucking fantastic. 2 kings. Open. Call. Why aren't my HUD stats loaded? These are just all unknowns, aren't they? This must be a relatively good table, I guess, because I don't have any hands on these people. And normally my HUD stat wouldn't show here, would it?
Yeah.
If you're at the table and you haven't got a hand on anyone, they don't have HUD stats, do they? So I guess that's where we're at. So here we go. Checks to us. Small blind versus small blind call.
Yeah.
Take it away, sir. What do you think?
I think we range bet here. We can check, but I still think we bet here.
Right. Okay. So
like the ace, obviously, but I still think we can bet here.
So are you rage betting just because you think it's the correct thing to do, or are you range betting? Or are you range betting because you think you can get value for your hand?
Really good question. That I think more so the former. I don't know. I just feel it feels a bit weak to check back here. I don't know. Could be wrong, but equally, do we want to be building a big part or a part? Do we need to be betting? Not necessarily. Never quite sure what to do on the ace high flops with kings, but yeah.
See, I think I agree with you. This board does look like a board we should range bet, but I really don't want to fucking bet pocket kings on this board.
Mm.
Without a heart, maybe I would. You know,
Yeah.
if we had, I think with a heart, I'm less worried about a lot of things. You know, and again, we'll be interested to see what Solver does. I think our hand wants to check back here. A lot of the time, it doesn't want to start building a pot yet. But I also think our hand can um, maybe make a bet because the villains are going to have plenty of hands that can call that are worse. The problem is we don't really. It's not we don't really. We absolutely do not have a 3 street hand, so I wouldn't range bet this.
No. Fair.
Um, and I would expect villain not necessarily to overprobe this turn. I don't think they're just going to start randomly fucking turning pocket eights into a bluff, etc. So my line here going forward would be check back flop, not fold any turn if they probe, and then just get to the river and see what happens. You know, I wouldn't want to preempt it too much, but right now I would not be betting. Personally, I would just check this hand back.
That's fair.
And I think there's a lot of players who just lazily range bet this board because it's ace XX, you know, it's more my board than his board. I'm just going to range bet. Problem is, they don't expect villain. You know, maybe they do, but I don't expect villain to fold pocket fives here, for example, for
Yeah.
one bet. For 1/3 pot, pocket fives not folding. For
Yeah.
1/3 bet, for 1/3 pot, pocket sevens not folding. All those types of things. Um, which is a good thing when we've got pocket kings, but we can't keep barreling off. You know, I'd rather check back this hand and then bet turn river and get 2 calls from non-believing hands rather than bet the flop, check the turn, and then play a guessing game on the river.
That makes
So
lots of
yeah,
sense.
so like people who want to range bet this when they've got an unmade hand, I kind of don't think it works unless you've got plans to triple off.
Mm-hmm.
Just say we've got fucking I don't know, fucking king queen off here with the king of hearts. Maybe that's like, we can rage bet this. You know, we're going to have heart runouts. You're going to have to be willing to empty the clip quite often because I don't believe for a second that pocket pairs are folding this flop versus rage bet, and nor should they. And the problem is, they get lots of like bad regs, myself included, who just they'll set off with a rage bet here because they know it's fine. They know theoretically they're allowed to do it, but then they'll get lost down the streets because
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, now what? Now what? I'm not fucking prepared for this. My studies took me as far as knowing I can range bet this board,
Yeah.
but that's all it's took me to. So
Yeah.
it's my studies took me to a place where I'm in on the fucking turn, and all of a sudden, it's a bit fucking chilly around here. How do I get out of here? I don't
Yeah.
fucking know.
Yeah.
It gets messy. So
No,
I
I like your line there a
I
lot.
prefer checking back because I know if I check back, I can call all the turns, and I could probably call a few rivers too. You do go with range bet though, and villain calls.
As we expected.
Turn ace.
Hmm. I think I like a check back here, but I don't know what I do here. I think I prefer a check back.
So for our hand, it's just a good card
It's
and a
a good
bad
card,
card.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
No, absolutely. So maybe it is another bet, but not sure.
But
Not
I don't think it's a bet.
no.
I think it's a good card because now I'm going to be emboldened to check back and call rivers.
Yeah,
Because now villain's going to have less ace X in his range, and he's going to have, because on the flop he's called with you would imagine quite a wide range.
hmm
He's going to get to the river with plenty of hands that are relatively weak, and he might actually start overbluffing this river.
yeah,
So I really like checking back here because I think there's very few spots that are overbluffed, but this might be one of them.
yeah.
Um,
I like check back as well.
5 river, he checks. So what now? Value bet?
I think we do have I think we have a value. I think we have a value bet here. I do. Yeah, I mean, he's check back turn. Check the turn, check the river. I think we can bet here, and I think if we get any raises, we fold.
Yeah, I like bet here too. We're just going to bet here. We're just going to hope pocket sevens don't believe us, aren't we?
Yeah,
That's what we're doing. We
yeah.
hope pocket fours doesn't believe us.
Mhm.
Hope pocket eights doesn't believe us. That type of thing. So I like a bet here, and I like in the medium sized range, 2/3, 75%, something like that. That's fine. Half pot, no issue with that. Villain calls. Whatever. Yeah, you lost.
Yeah. No, that's a
Never
weird.
mind.
I'm sure if that needs to be in there actually. That's a bit of a weird
Yeah, I
one.
mean, he should really be betting that river.
Yeah. Or yeah, and even raising potentially there to the river, but I don't know.
Versus our size, you maybe raise. I don't think so, but maybe. Um, but yeah, he shouldn't be checking. I don't think. When we've like bet flop check back, maybe he just like wants us to, you know, his mindset clearly he has been right. Okay, I know where all the aces are. It's very unlikely my opponent's got an ace, so maybe then he's just like, well, if you probably don't have many hands that can call, so he's decided his hands are going to work better as a bluff catcher. Maybe he's right versus population. Maybe he's right, but I think too often it's just going to go check against this type of hand.
Yeah.
So yes, quickly run that one through the machine. How are we going to do with it? Oh, we got 6. Happy days. Happy days. So obviously pre-flop, nothing to talk about. Flop, first check, but
Yeah.
he's doing a bit of range betting. He's doing a little bit of betting
Yeah.
for like both of those sizes, which is like proves it's not a range bet.
Yeah. That's interesting for me.
Which is yeah,
Well,
exactly. I think it'll be interesting for I say a lot of people who watch this video, but it's only going to get about 70 people watching it. But a lot of the 70 people who've reached this far, in fact, it might get 70 views. There might be 6 people who've reached this far. So of the 6 people who reached this far, maybe 4 of them would range bet this spot. So yeah, I think this is definitely true. I'm pleased that I know that I wouldn't have gone for the range bet here
yeah.
because our specific hand doesn't want to do it. I wonder, like, overall, how often it's range betting here. Because we know what our hand doesn't want to bet, but overall, what's that? The global betting frequency here on this flop for under the gun. It would bit more. Like globally, we're checking 56%.
Yeah.
Here we're checking 69%. So it just goes to show, like, this hand in particular doesn't want to do it. But like half the time here, we're just going to range bet, and there's going to be a lot of shit in there. There's going to be an awful lot of shit in our. So what's its favoured bet size on this flop? If we're checking the favoured bet size is 50%. Just we'll put both of these in, and we'll see the sort of shit it's betting. You know, I mean, obviously it's got the ace X it's betting.
Yeah.
King's a little bit, Queen's a little bit less than obviously like the worse our pair is, the less it's wanting to bet until it starts getting down to some of these where it's just literally bluffing now because now it's trying to sometimes get like some better hands to fold. Maybe it's just trying to like put pressure on. I mean, if we bet in 8s here, so if we do bet, what's the calling response meant to be here when we do bet, say, one of these sizes? What is Villain's call supposed to be? Or what more likely what the fold's meant to be? Yeah, so look, if we bet 8s on this flop, like 9s, 10s, jacks, they're all folding at some frequency.
Yeah.
Which is why it prefers betting. It doesn't like betting like the kings, queens, and jacks very much, but the lower the shitter our pair is, the more it likes betting because these hands are supposed to fold. Now, in theory, these hands are supposed like jacks is meant to just check fold here to half pot 66% of the time, depending on suits. Genuinely, go back to the games we're in. Do you think pocket jacks is folding this flop for 1/3 pot?
No, I'm not.
No, they're not in a fucking gazillion. No, they're not. So again, it's good to look at theory and then throw a lot of it out. Like,
Yeah.
right, okay, theory does this. Theory wants to bet 8s here because 9s and 10s and jacks are folding at a frequency. I wouldn't bet 8s here because I do not believe for a second that 10s, jacks, 9s, 10s, and jacks are folding at any frequency whatsoever. They're just fucking not. They're just calling, show me the next one, please.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So again, it's interesting to look at theory, but I would not be betting pairs. My bluffs, my bets here. If I was betting, where we are here, are going to be more of. So I'm going to use these two sizes that way. It's going to be a lot more of the flush draws, and what have you. And it's going to be like probably not even Broadway cards. I don't think it's going to be stuff that's got like a backdoor straight draw as well, maybe.
Yeah.
The stuff that really likes getting folds now, like 8-7 suited, just going to do a good job at getting fold. I mean, if Jacks is meant to fold at some frequency, then 8-7 suited is printing that 8-7-9-8, all the stuff like backdoor flush, backdoor straight draws, and my flush draws, and then I don't really have that many backdoor flush draws, I don't suppose. So yeah, that's how I'm going to construct my range. It's going to be all my ace-X or a lot of my ace-X, and then it's just going to be my front door flush draws, my back door flush draws, and my straight draws. And I'm not going to be finding bets from these hands. Well, 6 of them obviously, but from these, I'm just not going to be finding them because I don't believe. I think we just end up value owning ourselves. It's like, right, okay, we bet 8s and then we just get called by 10s too often and Jacks and things. So, yep, we did go with the bet, turn, check, and we are still continuing to bet in this line. And I guess that's because like the card removal, it's just like it's good card removal effects. If Villain still has like the combinations of like Jacks, Queens, and stuff, it hasn't folded yet. He has the flush draws, it hasn't folded yet, that can still maybe call. So I guess that's why it's not pure checking back, because like this means he's got less ace-X and probably got more hands that were ahead of that can call. And then river checking again, and we are having
Very small.
tiny amount of value betting. Yeah, so I think you've just gone too thin here, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've just gone too thin. Whereas I think had we checked the flop, so let's just like run this for like a different line. So like just imagine we check back the flop.
In my yeah, I just don't expect it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I suppose I'm hoping for a call there from things like Jacks and Queens, but I don't know.
So if we check the flop, do we then get to start betting more king on this? Yeah, we start betting more versus checks again. So I think my idea of like playing this as a 2 street hand, turn and river is going to be good because when they do have an ace, they're going to lead the turn. I'm just going to call. When they check again, they're just going to be like not have very much ace-X at all because you can see like kings and queens just start betting, not all the time, but like a significantly higher frequency. And then I guess we just get to bet the river too. I'm gonna. What was the river?
Was it 6 and 8? No, I can't remember now.
5 of diamonds. So we could say check and then say we now bet half pot. They call, and then the river's a 5 of diamonds. I'm just wondering if we do bet kings again versus a check. That's the only thing that the reason I'm doing this. Because my line would be betting kings again here. No, kings just checks back. So basically, we have a 1 street hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've gone for 2 streets.
Yeah.
And it's not been a disaster because you didn't get any errors. But basically, we have a 1 street hand. The line is check back flop, bet turn if check 2 again on this run out, and then check back river. So yeah, I thought we maybe had a 2 street hand. We don't. We have a 1 street hand.
Yeah, that's fair.
So fair dues. Let's look at the next one. Queen. We open. Small blind calls again. And that big blind. Right, so we can't do this one in GTO.
No.
It's 4, 6, 7. Oh, I wasn't expecting to see that. So we've seen a donk and a fold.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I mean, he's bet big. It's half part. It's good. It's a fairly big donk bet. I think I'd probably raise here, but I'm not sure that's good because that board's pretty horrific.
I think raising here is entirely appropriate versus a 55 big blind stack.
Yeah.
Who's donking.
Okay, cool.
Because they're just going to have 8s, 9s, 10s. They're going to have 7x. This range is going to be pretty merged. Yet when they've got a set, they're going to stack us.
Yeah.
Because when we raise, there's no folding on the flop. I mean, if we raise their call and then the board becomes a 4-liner, then we probably just get away from our hand. But on this flop, I'm raising with the intention of getting it in.
Yeah.
And I think that's by far and away the best line.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, I'm pretty certain I will race it. I'd be disappointed if I don't.
this range is just merged as fuck. Yeah, he's going to have some better hands. He's going to have some 6-7 once in a blue moon. He has call out the small blind. He's going to have 4s, 6s, and 7s, probably at a pretty high frequency. But he's also going to have 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, 7x. So even though, yeah, we lose to some of his value here, we also crush some of the hands that are bet calling. So I
Yeah.
just think he's got 55 big blinds. I'm just wanting to try and like get all the money in right now. You do raise, happy days. He calls. Turn. Well, I'm just all in. I'm just really, really not fucking around here. This line from him is weird. I think this is always value, without question. I'd be very surprised if Villain's got a bad hand here, but we've got a very good hand.
Yeah. I don't know what I do here, to be honest with you. I really like. I think shove is absolutely the right thing to do. I've got a feeling I don't do that, which I think is poor.
Yeah, cause, like, the only reason you're not shove here is because you want to keep bluffs in, or you think you're behind their range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're behind their range, and I don't think he has many bluffs.
Yeah.
And the bluffs he does have are going to be like 5x or whatever that are straight draws. So this is just such a merged range, and yeah, we're behind some of it. Big deal.
Yeah.
I still think there's value on a raise here. You just called, and then that's a shit river. If he leads again, we probably have to fold.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, you're not going to like what I do here. I think I probably shove now, which is poor. But I do have a read. I remember this hand now, and this player is not the stats. I've got stats on this guy, and I know exactly who it is. If
Right, okay.
I'll tell you now, if you paused it, I'd be able to name your name. I know exactly.
That's interesting. Simon nailed him. He knows who this player is. Go on, mate. Sorry, I interrupted you off.
He's been doing all sorts of awful shit and all sorts of this. Yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, against this player. I don't mind this shove, but I wouldn't be doing it against anyone else or very few players. So this is a player specific.
Yeah, I don't really care who it is. I'm a wimp. I just call here. Or maybe even fold. Because this line just looks strong to me. It's gone donk, call, flop. He's ignored the fact he's been raised on the flop. He's just donked a turn brick. And it is a brick. Unless, because 5-3 was already there, so it's a brick. He's donked a turn brick. The guy's clean idiot. I'm putting the fucking rest in. But now he's bet this river. I'm like, actually, what value do we now beat? Because you imagine he's not wanting to bet a 7 on this river anymore.
Yeah.
So now I'm mixing between call and fold here. And I think if I'm playing well, I fold. And when I'm not playing well, I click call, I think.
Yeah.
And I literally never raise.
This is an error against anyone else, but against this guy, he was doing this with single pairs. And
But was he calling raises?
Sorry?
But was he calling raises?
Yeah, possibly not. Maybe it's just
on the Ace River.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. No, that's what. Yeah, it's not good. I'm not overly proud of this one, but
no,
I did just call. I thought I'd put it in.
That's why you dunk the turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the card that should not improve his range at all actually improved his hand. That's funny. I'm glad you brought that. I'm sorry you lost it, but it's funny.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. They're in there. I thought I jammed, but no, I'm glad I didn't. I was never folding to him, that's for sure.
I think I can put that tag on this player.
Yeah.
So if I ever venture into this pool again, I've got no hands on him, but I already know he's a fucking lunatic.
Yes, that's right.
Next one, King 8 suited. We open, villain calls. Interesting flop. What are you thinking?
Check in here, I think. Don't see any reason to bet. Could be wrong. We've got equity here. I think I'm probably checking.
I would bet here personally.
Okay.
We've just got decent equity.
Mm.
We improve on a 7, we improve on a queen, we improve on a club. I'm just going to bet. I'm literally just going to bet here, and I'm just going to use a small bet size. I don't expect to get raised very often. And I'm just basically blocking this. I'm going to bet 2 blinds because I don't want to have to check call. Because we can't check fold. I
No.
don't trust villains to bluff enough. And if I bet 2 blinds here, he might not raise me with a jack. If I check, he might bet fucking full pot with a jack, or he might bet 3/4 pot with a jack, or something like that. I just want to. It's a nonsense idea, but I just don't want to give up the lead here. And it is nonsense. It's got no real basis in theory or anything like that. But I think I'm just going to continue betting here. If I've got King Queen, I'm going to want to continue betting. If I've got Ace King, I'm probably going to want a continuation bet.
Yeah.
Even though, again, Ace King probably doesn't want to bet here in theory. In practice, hands that have to check call, I don't want to check call with them against a population that I think doesn't bet enough.
Yeah.
Let's look at this individual in particular. Float bet. He hasn't even had a chance to float bet yet. But I just don't think people bet wide enough here for me to want to start check. I'm just going to just keep the lead myself and force them if they've got a strong hand to raise me, rather than me check and then get into a guessing game.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And again, I don't know what Solver's going to do here. Blind versus blind is hands down my shittest fucking part of the game. He checks back. Turn 3. Now what are you thinking?
See, I'd like a bet here. I like. I'd like a bet here. But I don't know if I find it.
Well, here's the thing. If you range check the flop, then you get to bet this turn.
Yeah.
But what would you have done on the flop if you had pocket aces?
Mm,
Or pocket nines, or pocket tens, or king queen?
I'd be betting.
So I think as played with check, I think if you're range checking here, then I think you get to bet this turn. If you're not range checking here and you're betting on your good hands and checking on your weak hands, I don't like betting here because when villain checks back, he's either just a really passive player who's got a bad hand, or he thinks he's got some showdown value,
Mm-hmm.
and he's probably not going to fold. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Does.
I
Yeah.
think as played, I think this is just a check again.
Yeah.
I don't think, but if well, as played, no, hang on. As played, it can be a bet if you're checking some strong hands on the flop. But if you're betting on your strong hands and then checking hands like this, I think it's then bad to then start just leading turns randomly. Because I think when he checks back, it's an indication that he might think he's got some showdown value. So I think we don't have much fold equity here on a bet, I don't think.
Okay.
And we do go with bet. And then calls. And that river. So now what?
I think right now I check, but I don't think I do in this scenario. I think I bet again, which I think's not very good.
Yeah, I don't like betting this. I don't like bluffing this river.
No, I think it's a absolute give up. Yeah, check that, check it, and lose.
Yeah, I'm thinking what would I have bet? I mean, if I'd checked King Queen on this flop, I would still bet this river.
Yeah.
I would probably still bet pocket aces because I think this run out's good for pocket aces.
Yeah.
Because if he ever did have any 2 pair that he got trappy with, we're now ahead of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think we're in blunder territory here with what I'm about to do. Don't like
my
it.
line would have just been bet flop, bet turn, and now I'd give up
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And then give up or just bet really big, one or the other. Because when I triple barrel here, I'm saying I've got minimum king, queen, and full houses.
Yeah.
And I've got a king in my hand, so I have got, theoretically, it's not the worst bluffing card because we.
And I think that's maybe where I was coming from a little bit. That we it's not a bad hand to bluff, but I just think he's called the turn. What's he called?
Yeah.
With, we're beaten a lot of the time, and I think it's really not a good bet.
Yeah, I think we're beat, but I don't think he's very strong either.
Because
he didn't bet the flop, he hasn't raised the turn, so I think he's in 1 pair territory a lot here. And does our king 8 have any showdown value? I don't think so. I think as played, I'm changing my mind. My first instincts were, I'm just shutting it down here. But now, I'm tempted to overbet.
I think I
Because
think
I think Villa's just gonna have one pair a lot, and I think he's gonna have a hard time calling.
I think in game I felt that I needed to find a bluff here because King Eight's not winning at showdown. Um, but I think there's two things wrong here. I think probably the size I go is going to be wrong, and maybe it's just a give up.
Yeah, I think if we're betting here, we have to go with big. We can't piss around with the 2/3 or
Yeah,
75% pot here. It
yeah,
makes it too easy for Villain. So I'm just going to polarize. I'm going to check, or I'm just going to be like, fuck you, mate. 18 big blinds, 20
yeah.
big blinds, one of the two. And that when we look at this in theory, my line could be fucking bonkers shit. But I think in this spot, Villa's just going to be capped at one pair a lot. I think he's going to have a lot of 9x and a lot of 10x in his range.
Yeah.
You did go with overbet, so
Okay. That's not too bad then. I
hats
mean,
off
it's
to you.
maybe like say need to be 18. I think in game, like I said, I felt that King Eight's winning very little here, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't hate this. Bill and calls. Wow,
yeah,
that's pretty unlucky.
yeah.
That's
It is.
pretty unlucky. So let's bang that one in the machine. Here we are. We'll sweat the outcome together.
Ooh,
Onion. Oh no, it's not a total blunder, is it? It's a wrong move, but it's not a triangle. It's not a triangle. And the river, yeah, it just doesn't like river. Um, Pre-flop's obviously fine. Flop, it is mixing between checking and betting. You get the 2 ticks for the check, but it is literally mixing
it's good.
50% check with all the different sizes.
Yeah,
Um, so that's fine. Turn. Um,
just wants a slightly bigger bet, doesn't it?
it does, but you're in there. You're in the game, aren't you?
Yeah,
You've identified it's a good spot to bet. So the size you've chosen, whatever, you didn't choose the theoretically perfect size. I don't give a fuck. You've got a tick. Good enough for me, mate. Good enough for me. And then river, yeah, it just wants. It doesn't mind betting. I mean, it prefer. See, this is the size I don't like this size.
yeah.
I don't like this at all. I think it just gets picked off too often by 9x. In reality, it just gets picked off way too often by 9x. I'm interested to see what rivers, what solvers are folding here to this size on the river,
You see,
and
my,
then
my, my bet size is just non-existent, isn't it? It's saying no, that is not
yeah,
a.
it's just basically saying fuck you, mate. We're going mega polar here
Yeah, and
when
the
we
thing
are.
is, he's never folding that hand. I don't
No,
think anyway. I just don't think he's
I think the
folding.
interesting thing here is like because I don't like this size at all, so I want to look
Yeah,
at like what theory is folding to this size, and I want to investigate whether I think in practice that's true. Um, so we get to the river, and it actually wanted. Um, what did it want?
he
58,
well, yeah.
58%. Uh, it's not actually giving us that fucking option. So never mind.
Probably
We'll have to
50,
go
isn't it?
with
Close up 50.
yeah. We'll have to go with half pot.
Yeah,
So at half pot, it's saying these hands are folding. Um, yeah, all the queen X, queen nine. I don't think that is folding in game.
no,
In reality, I don't think it is. It should, but it isn't. So all these 9x, I do not believe are folding. Any of these 9x, not folding. Um, Pocket eights, maybe that folds. Pocket sevens, maybe that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I think they're certainly not pure folding eights. This is folding eights 98.8% of the time. In reality, um, I don't think that's true. They're going to be folding, but they ain't going to be pure. They're going to be mixing some fucking calls in for certain. I think these nines here aren't always folding to half pot. In fact, I think they're very rarely folding to half pot. You think of the content creators we watch, and it goes right up. I mean, that Eastie, for example, prime example, doesn't fold to half pot on rivers. He just doesn't do it. When you watch enough Pete Clark content, he's not interested in folding bluff catchers to half pot on rivers. So like, all these bluff catchers in the 9 region and pocket eights, maybe pocket eights is the outlier, but all this 9x isn't folding in my opinion.
No.
And then this other stuff that's folding, we're ahead of most of it. So yeah, I just don't like it. I get Solver's doing it, and I'm saying get in the bin, Solver. This isn't working in practice in the games we play because people just are not folding to half pot bets. How much 10x is meant to be folding? All these 10x meant to be folding. Don't think that's happening. Is any Jack X at all folding? No, it's not.
No.
Is it? Jack X is all calling. Yeah, so I think like the 10x and 9x that benefits from that the perceived fold equity that Solver's saying exists, I don't think exists in reality.
I'll take the Reggie tick on this one. You
Yeah.
like the other bet. I'm going to take that.
Yeah, whereas when we go with the over bet, instead, I think now Villain is starting to fold a lot of these hands when we go with over bet. I think a lot of these like 10x hands are definitely folding. A lot of these 9x hands are definitely folding. So I'm much if we're going to bet here, I like giving up, but I also like if we are going to bet, I like going over bet. So I'm happy with my instincts here.
Yeah.
Because like the hands that are meant to fold to this, in reality, I don't think are folding enough. I don't think this carries the amount of fold equity Solver is weighting it to. So I don't like this, and I think we either check or we go with this. I wouldn't be having these in there. I'd be mixing between checking and using this size.
Yeah.
And I don't really give a fuck that Solver doesn't like it because I'm falling out with Solver in terms of like trying to be like one. And I'm just like, and I'm enjoying doing this exactly this type of work, which is all right. Solver disapproves of my size here because of these reasons. Then I'll go and look into it. Well, what's supposed to happen if I use this size? And if I think that's actually happening, then I've learned something new, and it's great. If I don't think it's happening, then I just think, yeah, shut up, you're drunk. I'm ignoring you. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. Do you have time to do the Foursquare?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Right. Well, in that case, we're going to say goodbye to everybody now, and we've got 2 extra time videos this week. We've got an extra time with Owen on Saturday, and we're going to have the extra time with Simon on Sunday. So it's going to be a 7-day video week. Yay! That should be good for 500 views. Get the fuck in. Go Reggie Time Poker. Right. See you, everyone. See you in the next video. And yeah, bye-bye for now.